Hello, viewers. Welcome back to Vibing with Mr. Marvelous. Today's guest is no other than Alexia.
That's right.
So Alexia's in the show. Before we get to Alexia, let's talk about a fun fact, as always. So, which island is bigger, St. Lucia or Jamaica? So I'm from St. Lucia, and hint, hint, our guest is from Jamaica.
That's right.
So we'll give you a few minutes to figure it out. So which island is bigger? We'll come back to that. So Alexia, who are you? A little bit about yourself and what you do. Tell the viewers about yourself.
All right. Well, my name's Alexia McLeod. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I own private practice here in Wellington, but I serve throughout the United States. I'm licensed here, but I predominantly do half my practice is based for adoptions, and the other is based on helping people to find the better part of themselves through therapy.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing.
Always.
Brilliant. So I use Alexia's a therapy. So people hear the word therapy and they get scared. Like I'm one of them. When I was younger, when I heard the word therapy, I'm like, that's not therapy. What's that? That's not for me. I'm okay. So what do you tell people out there? Like, how do you describe therapy?
Well, you know what? It's funny that you even brought this up.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
Most of us, because especially in the Caribbean culture and a lot of different cultures, people question therapy and what it is, and is it only for people that like have major issues? And the fact is that therapy now it's a commodity. It's not something that is only for a certain set of people. Everybody in life needs an opportunity to be able to process whatever's going on in their life so they can get to their best next steps.
So therapy is for everybody, anything. Even though you're happy, there's something called happy therapy.
There's happy. You know what? If we look at our lives, there is happy therapy because it doesn't matter. A lot of my clients are in the higher echelon, right? And everybody would look at them and they think, oh, they got it all together. The reality is that no matter what stage you are in life, you still have things that you have to process. And sometimes a part of that processing is just, how are people viewing me? How am I viewing myself? And when we process that, then we can figure out that, guess what? The only important person that you think about is being able to, go through within your own mind, figure out what's going to be best for you. And even as we talk about like different cultures, or many cultures, they'll try to, our parents kind of tell us what we should do. Right?
Very true. Yeah.
And listen,
especially from the Caribbean.
Especially from the Caribbean. Listen, if mommy or daddy say it, it's done. Yeah. Right? And it's important that we know that when we figure out what is our best self, what is the thing that we're most passionate about, you're going to succeed in it. So in order to get that and to really get, not just on a coaching side, but to be able to really say, why do I want to do this? Why am I so passionate about this? What is the things within me that is holding me back from getting to where I want to be? When you reason that out, it takes you to a whole nother level.
Very true. I love it.
Yep.
Now let's give the viewers before we get to more in detail, the answer to our trivia question. Which island is bigger? Drum roll. It might be an obvious one because everybody have heard about Jamaica, and some people. I travel like St. Lucia. What's that? So yes, Jamaica is about 3 times the size of St. Lucia. So Jamaica is the powerhouse.
See, I would make a comment, but I'm not because I know that a lot of your viewers come from all over. So
it's okay. You can say a comment.
We do it big and better in Jamaica.
But St. Lucia is sweet and beautiful. So the Helen of the West.
Yes. With the good roti from there.
Right? Yes. Fantastic. There you have it. Jamaica is much, much bigger than St. Lucia in the Caribbean. So your education journey, so you're from the Caribbean, was it easy transition? What's your education background like?
Well,
what's your life journey has been like from the Caribbean to the U.S.?
It's been, it has been a journey because I've been here for quite some time now. And, the education system in the Caribbean, as you know, is a lot different than it is here to where, we're kind of held to a very high standard and not only just high standards, not that in America they're not, not only high standards in school, but high standards because we know that it's so important for us to be able to do better than what our parents did. You can recognize the sacrifices that they were making even from back then. Excuse me, this is my puppy that's making noise over here.
We have a little guest over here.
This is the special guest, Oreo.
Oreo.
So, it's, but the educational system here, when sorry, I'm not abusing the dog. So sit down. So yeah, the educational system that's coming over here was kind of amazing when I came through, and just to feel how far advanced that I could come so quickly. I finished like a double master's I had just the same month I turned 21, and I think I can really attest that to the education in the Caribbean and pushing me forward so that things were easier education wise when I moved here.
Congratulations.
Mhm.
And you always knew you want to be a therapist? Or as a child, what was your dream job or career path look like? Because from the Caribbean, like when I was younger, nobody knows that, but I dreamt of being a pilot.
Did you really?
Yes, I never shared that with much people.
That's awesome.
Because I love traveling and I
Yeah.
always dream of seeing the world.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll be a pilot because part of the benefits is
Yes.
traveling in different countries.
See, no, that's
I never
awesome.
made it happen because as I grew up, my passion changed and my love. But when I was young, as a little boy, I saw these planes. I'm like, one day I'm gonna get on that
That's
plane. One day I'm
awesome.
gonna be a pilot.
See, I never knew that. So that's a secret followers out there, right? No, I think that that's awesome. For me, when I was younger, my dad, he owned businesses. So I think that he very much groomed my brother and I to be in business, to be entrepreneurial. And for many years, I didn't feel that. I didn't want to. I enjoyed just the education and learning more and going to all these different places. I worked in the hospitals, different things like that. But even before then, another thing, most Caribbean people, what are the two there's only two professions. There's doctor, lawyer. That's it. Right? After that is done. So, they were attempting to push me in that direction. But I really, in high school, I started to get a passion for it. I took a class, a psychology class. I loved it. I went to college and my parents weren't happy with it. They weren't happy with it at all.
Right.
Because they were like, oh, how are you going to support yourself?
It's right. Non-tradition.
Like
yeah.
Non-traditional. And because they didn't understand it. And I'm happy that now they can really see the benefit of it. And trust me, if you have a passion about something, you're going to make money in it. There's not even a question about it. But even bigger than the paycheck is seeing what you can give back to people and what they actually give back to me. So that's one of my biggest things.
Love it. So you have two masters.
Yes.
One in?
I have in social work.
Okay.
And I actually went to school and I did law as well too. I never took the bar because I knew I never wanted to practice law.
Right.
Never. So I did those two, and I actually have a degree in English because I think we all have that by default.
Definitely. Yes. Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Brilliant. And I know you're leading the community. You give back a lot. And what groups or what ways that you're giving back to the community?
Well, I have a deep passion for women.
Okay.
And for single women, and probably because at some point I was a single woman. Right?
Can you share?
Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit about your story.
Absolutely. So I was divorced some years ago and went through a big divorce when I was in. I found then that I was able to go through my own journey, and maybe I think some because of my background, some not, because just because you practice it doesn't mean you know it, right? And I had a little daughter at the time, and I really had to do my own self growth and self journey through that. And I think that there's so many single men and women, when they're coming out of a relationship and going into something else, whether they have a child or not, they look more on what's lost and what is to gain. So, I preach to people all the time that, divorce is not a failure. Divorce is actually an opportunity. If you have tried everything that you can, just like any big life change is an opportunity, so that you can go through your process and figure out what is best and what is meant for you.
So by you going through those hard times, you discovered you could relate to women who is going through what you went through
100%.
at once upon a time. And you started something you saying.
Well, what I do is I give back to, there's Place of Hope, which is a lot for single mothers. I give back to a lot of different organizations and through Christ Fellowship itself, because I think that when we can show people that they're not alone, a lot of people will see where you're at and they don't know that you've had a journey in order to get there. And it's important to be able to recognize that I did go through a journey, but my journey is not important. My journey is only going to help for me to be able to empathize more, for you to know that I see you.
Absolutely.
I see you all the way through. So when we're talking about stuff like that, it's important for me to be involved in stuff like that so that I can share my story, which is much longer. We're not going to get into it, right? But to share my story and to also to hear theirs so that they feel as though that, I've got their back. Mm-hmm.
Love it. I'm pondering because I can relate, and I love what you do, and you share your story. Mm-hmm. That okay, it's not a perfect world, and we have ups and downs, and
absolutely, and fortunately and unfortunately, I think people will always put their best face forward, which is a great thing because that's how we should be. But the reality is that we have to also show our vulnerabilities, which is not something that many people want to do because we're not all perfect. And to me, you show me a perfect person and listen, I'm afraid of you. I don't want to come close because I know that there's so many other things that are eating you apart there. But when we can become human with people that we can trust, then it lets you know that guess what, you're all right. We'll normalize things.
Love it. You heard that? If you're going through something, it's okay. Because once upon a time I heard in life either you're going through a storm, you're coming out of a storm, or you're about to get into the storm. So life. What's your daily routine like? So your therapy, do you work out? You look amazing. Like,
well, I have a great gym that I go to. So, and here's my secret for my own mental health. A lot of people will see and they'll be like, oh my God, Alexia, you've always loved working out. Because I've worked out since I was 16, long time. Right? But in reality, it's my mental break. The time that I use for myself that is just for me. And even with my patients, I encourage them all the time that it's important that you take whatever time out. And when you exercise, you get the endorphins start going, the serotonin starts really reproducing, and you end up taking yourself to a whole nother plane. So at the end of my day, I know I've given to my kids, I've given to my husband, I've given to my patients, but guess what? That is a part of the day that I really gave to myself, and I feel good, and I don't have to like work hard to fit in the dress.
Fantastic. So you work out, you see clients for the day, you eat clean,
I eat clean, with the occasional,
Right, it's called human nature.
With the human nature.
Balance.
And that's the big thing is that we have to balance every part of our lives. To me, what you put in your body is what comes out, in so many different ways. When you eat clean, then you feel better, your body feels better, your mind is more, you have more clarity, and just things start to move differently. A lot of people have gut issues and skin issues and, just even mental health issues. Everything is so interrelated. So I encourage people to go through that. So for me, in my daily, I do a meal prep. I do my meal prep, not just for me, but for my kids, because we have to be an example too, right? So
definitely.
And doing all of that and making sure and getting enough sleep, because sleep is something that people don't recognize how it can weigh in deep, causes anxiety, lack of sleep, anxiety, depression, all these different things. So it's important. Same things your mom told you are the things that actually work.
Very true. Do you have a daily mantra or motto that you say or you tell yourself? Or
there is, and all my patients will hear it.
Okay.
I can only control what I can control. So many times we become so frustrated because we're trying to control things that are outside of our scope. I just want for this person to love me. I just want to be able to. We can't control somebody's thought processes. We can't control everything in life. We can't even control, guess what, if you need to reach somebody and they haven't called you back yet and it's a business deal, guess what, you still gotta wait. You can't stalk them, right? Because that's not cool. But all these different things, if you can think, you wake up in the morning, I can only control what I can control. And the things that I can control, I'm actually going to put, I'm gonna put a list together. How am I gonna control that? How am I gonna make it happen for me? So that you're taking steps and you feel as though you accomplish something.
Love it. I love that motto. I'm going to use it myself.
You can use it. You can borrow it.
I can borrow it?
You can borrow it.
Thank you. I'm going to use it starting today. And if I called your 3 closest friends and I put them in the same room and I asked them to tell me one word to describe you, what would that be?
The fun one, right? I would hope that they would say, you know what, Alexia is a true friend.
A true friend.
And I will tell you that, in life, sometimes it takes time to really, we know what we want in a friend, but sometimes it takes a time to really be a friend. Right. Especially as you we're growing up and we're in business and, I own my own business and you're spending so much time really focusing in on growth and meeting new people. I think it took probably, I'll tell you, until I was like 40 before I gave myself an opportunity to open up the door. You said 40? And y'all don't believe it, right?
Just check it out. I'm surprised.
See, until like then, when I finally said to myself, I need to make room in my life because we can gather all these things, make all this money, do whatever, and really not have time to share it with the people that we love. And we're not the people that have been there for us, regardless of us running this rat race and not having the time, the family, the everything else. Being able to say, just because somebody is like, I hate that some people aren't going to like this, but just because they're related to you, doesn't mean they have to be the closest one if you feel as though you're not bonded. Doesn't mean you're throwing anybody away. but it means that you're welcoming new people into your life and calling them your family. You know, the people that you really enjoy time with, that are there for you in times of need and that you enjoy being there for as well.
Love it. Were you an athlete growing up, or?
You know what? I played a little soccer when I was growing up. I was not as
Soccer,
crazy,
as in the real football.
The football, right? But that was when I was younger, because as soon as it wasn't cute anymore. I like to work out in the gym.
Okay.
I like to. You see me, I'm telling you, I don't try to.
So I train Alexia sometimes, so she comes to.
The best trainer ever.
You're very kind.
It's the truth. I'm telling you, and he makes it fun. But and when I am not trying to look, the hair is up, the sweat is rolling, and I think that us as people of color, that is one thing that I really encourage everybody to do, because everyone's always like, we're afraid of the hair, we're afraid of this. I'm telling you, we got to step up our game, ladies. We got to step up our game, and not for them, but for us, because we want to be healthy, and we want to make sure that, you know what, our mind is healthy, our body is healthy, and we're living as long as our grandparents live, and happy.
Love it. So again, when you work out, when you do things, I reiterate what Alexia just said. Do it for you. Do it for your health. Not for the gram, not for, do it for.
Don't be there like this.
Correct.
With a camera trying to get it done. I'm telling you.
For your health. Yeah. And I said, the dopamine, you're going to feel good. So I love it. Thanks for sharing that. What has been the most powerful learning experience in your life?
So
I know there's probably a lot, but something like really 360, really change, and really you learn something like.
There is so much when I look, and I'm going to tell you that probably the worst time and the best time in my life.
Absolutely.
Is
Just start with the worst first.
Well, they actually correlate. They're going to be about the same.
Brilliant.
And this is going to be for anybody that's going through the same thing, because I will tell you that when I got divorced, I wanted my divorce more than anything. But I went through a 2-year battle that took my heart. And what kept me was my daughter, Jade. You know Jade.
Yes.
And when I look at that and I look back, I would do it 10 times over again, because it taught me to humble myself in a lot of different ways. You know, I grew up in a family where I never had to struggle. And luckily they were still there. I never had to. But I went through certain things, because in life we believe that when we are good to people, people are always going to be good to us. And I hate to tell people that it's not always that way. And that's why we have to, look for things that are real in our lives, and say that sometimes, I'm a person of faith, and sometimes God allows us to be in a situation because he wants to take us out of a situation. And that's the only way, because of our heart, that we will be able to allow ourselves to leave and to move on and to do something that he intended us to do. And I will tell you that I know that the life I have, the husband I have, even the spirit that I have now, is because of the fact that I was brave enough to walk away and stay away from something that I chose that was not ordained, and that and move on and really do what was going to be best for me and my daughter, because change is hard, but it is so worth it in the end.
So getting divorced was
I was the first person in my whole family. Listen, my dad is one of 13, and my cousins are plenty. We all know how the Caribbean people procreate. I'm telling you. They sit beside you. Let me move. No. Right? I'm telling you. So I come from a huge family where, the values are like old school. And I think as the years have gone on, things have evolved and everything else. But there's a sense of that you're not only failing yourself, but you're failing your family. Because what are they going to say? Because for anybody I'm sure you have a lot of Caribbean viewers, it matters. The first thing my dad ever said to me when I was leaving to go to college was, "Don't shame the family," right? You better step up your game and make sure you do everything right, and it all matters. But we have to, again, look at internally, when we do something that is great for us, it'll be great for everybody around us as well too. But we have to be clear in our thoughts and clear in our decision and make the right thing for us. Everybody else will follow.
Love it. Love it. Mental health, big topic. Always has, but nowadays it's even bigger. As a therapist, what do you want to see happen more in the Caribbean and in the US? Because you have both experience, yes. Caribbean and the US, and the rest of the world. Not knocking out the rest of the world, because we have people from Switzerland and Ireland, my family from Ireland, and Australia, whoever was watching. What do you see happening, in terms of?
what I would love to see
Yes.
happen is that people would normalize mental health treatment like they would normalize physical health treatment. You know, we are, from when we're born, we learn to take care of ourselves, whether it's like, you know, go to the doctor or take this herb because it's good for you, or, you know, we have to make sure that our mind is in a good status so that we can be good for the people around us, but even more so to be great for ourselves. So what I would love to see is for people to know that, guess what, mental health is normal. Don't you want to be healthy? You know, being healthy from mind, body, soul is like, such an important facet that we need to follow.
Love it. What's been the most fun experience? I know you have a lot because you're the fun girl.
I am.
But something so fun when you're a child, you're like, yes.
Oh,
so not an adult, when you're a child, it's like
when I was a kid.
You want as a kid, yeah. I want to know when you're a kid. We're going back, way back.
We're going back.
Yeah.
So I can remember because I was born in Canada.
Okay.
And we used to snowbird to Jamaica, and then we moved to Jamaica when I was about 6. And I can.
What part of Canada?
In Edmonton.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know Edmonton?
So outside of Toronto.
It's way outside of Toronto. So that's like, trust me, you don't want to go up there too off. It's cold, right? So, but I can remember spending like even my first Christmas that we really spent the whole Christmas there.
Right.
And it was different. This goes back. And it's, you know, we celebrated for the whole month. And the kids were allowed to like be downtown by themselves.
Right.
And, you know, and it was safe. And, you know, there was you had church one night and party this night, and there was all sorts of different stuff. It was just, you know, to me that was like an innocent fun where it didn't take dollars to make you feel so good, and you were excited every single day and waiting for the next thing to happen to be able to play with your cousins and stuff like that. And when I look at like that mentality of just being happy, it doesn't take much to be happy, right?
Definitely.
If we could figure out what, irrespective of money, could make us happy, then I think that we'd all be rich.
Love it. Love it. Health, the new rich.
Mm-hmm. Oh, amen to that. That's gonna be one of my mantras. So I'm gonna steal that.
Love it. Mm-hmm. So you have a daughter.
I have 2 daughters.
2 daughters. Normally, kids give you headaches. Any word of advice for parents, moms or dads, and tricks or things?
Go to the boxing gym and just let it out in there.
Go to the boxing gym and let it out. That's one way of
releasing. You know what? Honestly, we have to understand that when we were kids, we didn't even really know ourselves, and nor do our kids. They're learning everything. So try to decipher their behavior from like just growing up and going through growing pains. You know, always be there, be present. Don't let your social life take over their social life. You know, you have to be able to involve them in I now have a life. Make sure that you balance things,
right?
But you have to be able to be involved and do things that are fun for them as well too, so that you maintain that relationship. Start it when they're little and doing things, but don't just take pause and say, okay, well now I need to do everything for myself, and then they have a babysitter or they have whatever all the time. It's so important to foster that relationship, because when you foster it when they're young, you will have it forever.
There you go, the parents. Words of advice from our very own. If you had to change anything in the world, one thing, I know you could change thousands of things, what would that be? You can take your time. It's a deep question.
That's a very deep question.
So, one thing in the world that you have the power to change, what would that be? You know,
I really wish that people were given opportunities and equal opportunities. And this is not something that's like about like black, white, sexuality, anything like that. This is just, I think that there's so much disparity in the world in itself, which is unfair, but there's also a benefit to it. And that's going to sound weird, because I think that the benefit to when people aren't granted that they recognize how important it is to really climb up that chain, to be able to do it. So many times we want to change a lot of things in this world, but we're not recognizing how those things really help to make us who we are. So I don't know. I think that's a tough question. I got to come back to. I'm going to retract it, because I don't know if I think that it would be best if it was like a more even playing, if people were given more opportunities, but you know, we still have to hold on to the lack of opportunity that makes us who we are. That's right.
That drive, that hungry has to be more powerful than the others.
100%.
Yeah. I can have you on the show again, and we could re-ask that question. Life How would you describe life?
Life is what you make it, baby.
Life is what you make of it.
100%. So we can be in a mind space where you choose negativity. And you'll hear me always say that word, like choose, because we choose to be in a mind space where we either perpetuate the negativity,
Right.
or we can perpetuate positivity. And again, it's not that we're happy or sad all of the time, but what we have to do is we have to take control of our ability to be in the mind space we want to be in. So if we don't like the way our life looks like, then we have the power to be able to change it. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care, who you are. The reality is that you have to sit. It takes time. You can't, I use this example all the time, that you can't just have A and Z, like where you start and where you want to finish, right? You have to figure out, what am I going to do in between with everything? If everything was coming against you, what would you do in between in order to be where you need to be? And are you willing to do that? Because it's about being willing to do the work to get where you have to be.
Love it. I love how you describe life. Life. Life can be up and down, and life could be, because some days I'm like, what's life? What's life? What life should be? And as you said, it's whatever you want it to be and things you focus on and makes life.
You got to focus on the positive. And you know what? It's okay to focus on if people are having a bad day or something, it's okay we don't need to ignore it. You have to, I think that it's important to be able to look at it and to assess it and to say, okay, how am I going to have this bad thing not happen again? Or how am I going to get through this bad part of my life so that I can get on to the better part of my life? Because when we ignore it and we just say, oh, I'm going to put myself in la la land,
Right.
And we end up having, we call that, like, there's going to be triggers that are going to perpetuate throughout your lifespan, because the same way that you felt there is going to come back if something similar. And a lot of times people don't even recognize it, that they're having these triggers. So it's important to look at that as well too.
Love it. Do you see yourself running for office or something one day?
Negative. Politics is not my thing.
No.
Only I'm going to be like the president in 9 rounds.
You get my vote.
There you go.
You get my vote for sure. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
You know what? I see myself continuing to grow, not just in my business. My kids are getting bigger now, so I'm traveling a whole lot more. I love to travel all the time, but really taking the time to.
Favorite island, St. Lucia, you said?
Well, we can't get rid of them though all the time. I love St. Lucia. St. Lucia is beautiful. So if any of you haven't been, you got to go. Telling you, make sure Prince is there.
Yeah, we met each other last year.
Yes, it was so much fun. Go during Carnival time.
It's coming up, actually.
Is it real?
Carnival is in July. Yeah.
See, I'm telling you, it's passing me by already. But yeah, so I can definitely see myself doing that and just continue to, now I've gotten to such a phase in my life that I am enjoying so much feeding more into my family and saying, I don't need to be on this rat race all the time. So now, I put my systems in place with my business. I can have it continue to grow, but I can take the time away and really enjoy it with my family.
And I know you do more motivational speaking sometimes.
Yes.
Do you still do more of that, or you want to?
Well, no, definitely. That's something that I really enjoy to do. I think for me, it comes easy, and it's not.
Okay.
I don't think it's that way for a lot of people. So, but I enjoy it. Not even so. Because it can be, believe it, even the person that's speaking, it can be anxiety provoking sometimes if you have a big crowd. But I tell you what, when I get on stage, it's amazing. And when I see people feeding it in the emails and the letters that come afterwards, sometimes years later, people are still saying, I'm like, when did I speak there?
Right.
It's awesome. And it's not about me, but what was brought out because of the inspiration of the crowd, of whoever was there. So if I can give like one word to somebody and they really bit into it and they absorbed it, then I did what I came here to do.
Love it. Any final words for viewers? If you watch, you can tag and ask any questions. We have the comment box open. You can ask questions. As a child, wherever that child may be, any words of wisdom or encouragement for anybody or for the parents, anybody. So just talk from your heart, inspire them.
Well, here's what I would say is to, whether you're a kid, whether you're a teen, whether you're an adult, just get intimate with yourself. And when I say that, it means to really get to know yourself. I think many times I ask a question that is, if somebody was to ask you to describe you, what would it be? Who are you? And people, they get stuck at that question. And if we cannot allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough to know who we are, then how are we going to know who we want to welcome into our lives as well? Be patient with people, recognizing that, just as we have bad days, so do they. So when something negative happens or they say something that hurts your feelings, it may not necessarily be about you. So don't always start with defense, start with empathy, and then make the assessment for yourself as time comes up. Because even our kids, they got feelings too, even though we don't want them to have them sometimes. So in order to really have those hard conversations, sometimes we have to have easy conversations first and get to know where they're coming from so we can understand.
Love it. And for the kids?
For the kids, I'll be a young man. No. Listen, life, you got so much life. Okay, so for any kid that's out there, have a great time, but really know that everything now in this age of social media can follow you too. So you want to make sure that you're living your life and you're enjoying yourself, but you're also holding true to who you are and not who anybody else wants you to be. And that's not just about your parents, it's the friends. If you have a feeling at some point that, guess what, you don't want for anybody to catch you doing this, just don't do it.
There you have it from Alexia, one of the best or greatest therapists in the area, in the community. Thank you for vibing with me, for vibing with the viewers. We truly appreciate your wisdom, your sharing your story, very powerful story, your struggles and all the fun things you've achieved from it. So thank you. We appreciate you. Viewers, always remember, be marvelous. See you next week.